Ever wonder why some people struggle at colleges or in jobs even though they're super smart and hardworking? Let's talk about cultural mismatch theory. I'm Dr. Anna Kalshma. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist and I research the unwritten rules of work for people from low income backgrounds. Cultural mismatch theory explains that when the larger organizational culture doesn't match the culture of the subgroups within it, that's when inequality happens. Several studies have examined if there's a mismatch for students from working class backgrounds when they go to universities compared to middle and upper middle class students when they go. And they have found mismatches, particularly between independent and interdependent norms. People from working class backgrounds are raised sharing resources, and they're more interdependent and community focused, while the middle class is not. The middle class emphasizes independence and making choices and fulfilling one's potential. And these cultural differences can cause clashes at universities because universities tend to reward more middle class cultural upbringings. So, for example, a student in class from a working class background might be less likely to speak up in class because they might see that as interrupting for the other students, and they're probably more aware of the other students because they've been raised in a more interdependent environment. While a student from a middle class background would see this as an opportunity to show that they're engaging in the material and to show their own individual knowledge. And professors, usually, as long as it's done respectfully and not derailing the class, usually professors like that when students contribute to the class. It's a norm that's usually rewarded. This also shows up at work, and this is why, even though this hadn't been researched at work, this is why I did my dissertation on the unwritten rules of work for people from low income backgrounds. Because this can show up in a job interview. Think about it. When an employer asks skills, someone from a working class background probably has more of a tendency to highlight that they know how to follow directions, that they're a good team player. But someone from a middle class background knows to highlight their individual achievements and their leadership potential, which somebody from a working class background might see that as cocky. And when you throw in layers of how women are expected to behave versus men, and then white culture versus black culture versus Hispanic culture and Asian culture and all of those others, then you have layers of what people perceive as appropriate versus not appropriate. And if the organization isn't transparent about their cultural norms, if they don't know how, if they don't have hiring managers and such who know how to distinguish between actual job skills versus cultural differences, then this is where the mismatch happens, and this is where the inequality perpetuates. These aren't just individual issues, these are systems at work here. So, how do you create environments that are welcoming to multicultural people? Tell me your ideas in the comments.